Welcome back to Morning Joe. This morning, families in Mississippi are still coming to grips with the impact of what authorities are calling the largest ever immigration crackdown in a single state. Joining us from Morton, Mississippi, NBC News correspondent Gabe Gutierrez. Gabe.
Hi, John. Good morning. Well, behind me is one of the food processing plants where ICE agents picked up groups of workers suspected of being undocumented. They were bused to a nearby military hangar to be processed. And this morning, some of them have been released due to humanitarian reasons, but hundreds of others are now facing deportation. Immigration and Customs Enforcement handcuffed hundreds of immigrant workers and loaded them onto buses as co-workers and family members watched in disbelief.
Por favor, please, can I just see my mother? Please.
Kids left not knowing where their parents were being taken. This 11-year-old says her father was among those detained.
I need my dad, mommy.
Jordan Barnes opened up his gym to children with nowhere to go.
The kids should be the main priority. If we all put the kids first and do what we can to help them to make this as less painful as possible for them.
The raids happened Wednesday in 6 small towns near Jackson, Mississippi. Federal authorities say the sweep had been in the works for months. According to federal officials, about 600 agents fanned out across the food processing plants, surrounding the perimeters to stop workers from escaping and later processing them for immigration violations.
While we do welcome folks from other countries, they have to follow our laws. They have to abide by our rules. They have to come here legally, or they shouldn't come here at all.
In 2008, during the Bush administration, ICE arrested nearly 400 people in Iowa. This latest operation unfolded on the same day President Trump visited El Paso. Amid criticism, his immigration rhetoric contributed to the mass shooting there. The acting director of ICE says there was no connection, calling them a long-term operation. This woman tells us her husband is among those still detained. She says she's been in the U.S. for 24 years. This church, now a sanctuary for those in limbo, like this 1-year-old girl. The priest here tells us her mother is in custody. He's taking care of the baby as her father tries to find his wife. Child Protective Services here in Mississippi says it was not told about the raids beforehand. Nearly 300 of those who were detained have already been released. About 400 are still in ICE custody, and they're being held in facilities here in Mississippi as well as Louisiana. John?
NBC's Gabe Gutierrez, thank you, my friend. Let's bring in School Superintendent Scott County, Mississippi, Tony McGee. He says that at least 15 families within his district have been affected by the ICE raids. And also with us, Deputy Director of the Immigration Hub, Sergio Gonzalez. The organization aims to advance fair immigration policies through strategic leadership and legislative advocacy efforts. Thank you both guys for being here. Tony, I want to start with you and just ask you whether yes, anybody down there had any inkling this was coming? Was this just a bolt from the blue? And what's the impact, not just for the families that are affected here, but more broadly in the school district that you're dealing with?
Yes, sir. Good morning. We had no prior knowledge that there would be any type of ICE raid in Mississippi or even in Scott County. We initially found out that morning, somewhere around 8:30 that morning, as parents began to come in to check boys and girls out of school. Parents called concerned about their children, and we started to try to dig a little deeper, investigate what was going on, and did find out that there had been an opportunity for ICE raids at 2 locations within our county and school zones. And so from there, we tried to secure places for boys and girls to go that afternoon.
Tony, it must be incredibly disruptive, not just, I mean, obviously the families that are affected, this is incredibly disruptive for them, but more broadly for the rest of the district, just to see this activity, this action kind of unfolding in front of them. What do you do now going forward to try to cope with the fallout from this for the other kids in those schools and the parents affected?
Well, it has been very emotional for our teachers, for our staff, for all of our kids in the school district, especially our Latino and Hispanic community. But it is emotionally taxing on everyone. We had an opportunity to talk to University Medical Center yesterday and Child's Pediatrics about trying to provide some mental well-being for our students, gathering what resources we could bring to our district to reach out to those families, not only to reach out to our Latino and Hispanic students, but all of our students in our school district, making sure that they understand, school is a safe place for boys and girls, and we want to be a safe haven, a harbor for children to be able to come every day and feel good about school.
Sergio, I want to ask you about a new analysis, and it finds incendiary terms are frequently a part of the president's vocabulary when it comes to talking about immigration. USA Today examined the transcripts of 64 of Trump's campaign rallies since 2017. The paper says that the president has regularly embraced words like predator, like invasion, like alien, killer, criminal, and animal more than 500 times, Sergio, all while discussing immigration at his rallies. And it says more than half of those utterances by Trump came in the 2 months prior to the 2018 midterm election, underscoring how the president views immigration as a central issue for his core supporters. How are you working to combat this rhetoric coming from the White House?
Well, I think, like you said, we know that this president is interested in using immigration. He has from the very beginning of his campaign to rally his base, to stoke fear and panic in immigrant communities. And I think while he's rallying his base with this, it certainly is repulsing other people, whether it's Latinos or it's even suburban white women. They're turned off by this rhetoric because they know at the end of the day, this president's policies and his actions are dividing this country and are tearing it apart. And they're not interested in fixing our immigration system. And there are problems that we need to fix. What they're interested in doing, and what we saw in Mississippi, right, are tearing children away from their parents. It's keeping keeping thousands of immigrants in these detention centers, and it's about causing chaos in these communities.
Superintendent McGee, I want to talk more about how these children have been affected. I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old at home. My 1-year-old son is actually turning 1 today. So, of course, I see a picture of this young girl being taken care of by a church because the mother was taken. The father now searching for the location of that mother. I can't help but think about my own 1-year-old child being at home and finding out that I'm not going to be there tonight because I was taken by the government. How are some of the children in your district, if you've had any opportunity to talk to some of these families, the parents at all, or the children, how are they being affected by this? How are they dealing with all of this?
Well, we started reaching out to families yesterday. We had about 154 students that were absent from school yesterday, and so we did a target to really start focusing on those families, calling those families, going by to see those families to make sure that children were doing okay and moms and dads were doing okay. Of course, right now there is some fear. There is a fear of getting out and coming to school and being out in the community, those type things. And so we're just reaching out to them to reassure them that we're here for them and our school's here for them, to wrap our arms around them and love them and take care of them. But it is tough when you see small children that are crying because they're not sure where mom and dad is, and you have adults, parents coming to school with fear on their face, trying to pick their children up. And so, our job as educators is just try to bridge that gap and make sure that boys and girls are safe, whether they go home with mom and dad or we try to find a place for them to go home that afternoon. So.
Guys, I don't really have a question or an answer other than this is not who we are. I know we have laws, and I don't have a solution to this. But if we were watching France doing this and separating, this is just not who we are, and we're going in the wrong direction. To have 600 ICE workers, and obviously these are great men and women, they're just doing their job. 5 days after or a week after people were slaughtered by anti-Hispanic.
On the same day the president is visiting the victims.
The victims, it's just not who we are. We're losing our way, and once again, I know we have to have laws. But if watching that doesn't make you sick to your stomach, as an American, as a human being, as a mom or a dad, I know, and once again, I don't have an answer, but it just needs to be said. This is not who we are.
It seems so hard to understand. This raid was in the making for several months. How could they not have had a more humane way of preparing for this? You think about the ritual of going to school. It's part of who we all are. It's that sense of a new turnover. Between El Paso, those kids going to shop for their school, these kids now not knowing where their parents are when they're in school, we're disrupting the ritual of every everyday life for children. I don't know how they get over that. And the separation from a parent is probably the worst fear. You dream of that when you're a kid. You dream of, I don't know where my mother is. Where is she?
John, and I can't just help think about the timing of all this, as Donnie brought up. There have been times where they have delayed these raids.
Sure, many times.
Because it was politically motivated, because they felt like, okay, we're going to delay this raid. It's not the right time to do this for this reason or that reason.
Even times when Trump has sort of signaled it's about to happen.
Exactly, and then they delayed it for some reason.
Yes.
But it seems as if now they didn't do that. And this may very well have been a day where that raid should have been delayed, considering what was going on in this country.
Or from the president's point of view, a day where he thought, given everything else going on, that he could sort of get away with this without getting that much attention, which brings me back to Sergio Gonzalez. I ask you, Sergio, you know, this was, people have said over and over again in the last couple of days, this is a historic raid. So talk a little bit about, given the scope of it, number one, why it is you think, from all the best you can tell, why this actually went forward on the day that it did, and also what we should expect next. Is this, as you look down the road, is this the beginning of a much more aggressive a process of enforcement of this kind? Are we about to see a major wave of these kind of enforcement actions? And if that's true, what are you guys planning to do about it?
You know, I think unfortunately, if you look back to the 2018 midterms, for example, and President Trump started getting ready for that election, you know, in the weeks before, he manufactured a crisis at the border with a so-called, caravan that he said was basically coming to invade the country. And as we get closer to the 2020 election, I think, unfortunately, what we're going to see and what we're starting to see is the president starting to, again, make immigration a center point of his campaign. And we're going to see more of these raids, just like we saw in Mississippi. A few weeks ago, the president tweeted about massive nationwide raids across 10 cities involving 2,000 people. And so, unfortunately, I do think that this is the reality that we are living in. It is important that people understand and immigrants understand that they do have rights and that they should seek legal counsel. And I would also say that this doesn't just impact immigrants. This also impacts U.S. citizens and Latinos. ICE, there was a case in Texas a few weeks ago where a U.S. citizen was held by ICE for almost an entire month, and he was Latino. And so this just isn't something that is causing fear and chaos and panic in immigrant communities. It is something that is impacting U.S. citizens across this country, including those kids. And I just want to point out that, you know, oftentimes in these households, you have U.S. citizen children. And so it's not just immigrant children who are being infected and who, you know, are going home to empty homes and who are being orphaned. It is also U.S. citizen children who are as well.
All right, that is the Deputy Director of the Immigration Hub, Sergio Gonzalez. Thank you, my friend, and the School Superintendent of Scott County, Mississippi, Tony McGee. Thank you as well, sir. Coming up, the Iowa State Fair, now underway. But our next guest says, with so many Democrats in the presidential race, even diehard progressive activists are getting restless. We will go live to the Hawkeye State next.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.